Imagine this for a moment, if you will. You're sitting in London in the 1820s, the most powerful city on earth. Riches are abundant. The empire is expanding into new, undiscovered land. Adventures are coming back from the New World with tales of gold, jungles, and untapped riches. And then he walks into the room. He's charming, he's confident, he tells you that he's a Scottish nobleman, a war hero, a true veteran. And then he tells you something even more interesting, that he's the prince of a new country in Central America. He tells you that this country is rich in gold, blessed with fertile land, and desperate for British settlers to come and claim their fortune. And you believe him. You hand him your money, your life savings, and you set sail for paradise, only to find it doesn't exist. This is the story of Gregor MacGregor, the man who sold a fake country and got away with it. Now, to gain a true understanding of how MacGregor was able to pull off a scam of this scale, we need to travel back in time a little bit. Born in Scotland in 1786, MacGregor was the son of a respected family, but not a wealthy one. His upbringing was therefore relatively modest, even for the time period, likely causing him to dream of the finer things at life at an early age. As he became an adult, MacGregor would join the British Army, where he served as a completely legitimate and actually quite competent soldier, eventually gaining the rank of general during Venezuela's war for independence. Now, as impressive as reaching this rank in the army was, it wasn't exactly revolutionary, nor unique. It also didn't pay very well whatsoever. So, when MacGregor voyaged back to British soil, he did so broke and with no great stories to tell. Simply put, MacGregor had nothing going for him. The British higher-ups weren't going to pay attention to a regular old general, leaving him with no real way of making money long-term. Sure, he could continue working in the army, but that wasn't going to fund the life that he had always dreamed of. Thus, high on the idea of a greater life and all out of options, MacGregor turned his attention to something else altogether: a scam. The idea was very simple. When he returned to London in 1821, MacGregor made a shocking announcement to all who would listen. He told them that, during his travels, he found a Central American tribe, which made him the prince of a new country called Poyais. MacGregor described this place as a tropical paradise just off the coast of Honduras. On the surface, there were rivers, great plains making for ideal farmland, and a modern and thriving capital city. While underneath, there were great gold mines bound to make any adventurer brave enough rich beyond their imagination. To sell the lie even further, MacGregor created fake maps, government documents, and even a constitution, which he would show to his skeptics. He even went as far as to print new currency, land grants, and brochures to describe the majesty of this new country. All of this did enough to convince literally every member of English society, rich and poor alike, that this paradise existed. And with the seeds of his scam planted and well watered, MacGregor was ready to finally enjoy the fruits of his labour. You see, after telling people how amazing this new country was, MacGregor gave them the opportunity to purchase 100 acres of land within Poyais. It would cost an ordinary citizen their entire net worth. But with the way that MacGregor sold the experience, most didn't think twice. As the idea began picking up more traction, MacGregor likewise increased the complexity of his lie to keep up. He, for instance, published a 350-page guidebook describing the flora, fauna, and government structure of Poyais. And to top it all off, he even created an embassy in London, which employed real people to create passports so people could travel to Poyais. By 1822, MacGregor had hundreds of interested citizens, and he made an absolute fortune selling a complete scam. And this is probably the part of the video where you expect me to say that MacGregor subsequently slipped away from Great Britain to enjoy his riches on some remote island or in a different country. But we're not quite done yet, because in 1822, the first ship set sail for Poyais. That's right, somehow MacGregor was able to convince people not only to buy land, but actually to travel to a country that didn't exist. Of course, when they arrived, they found absolutely nothing aside from a stretch of jungle along the coast. Within weeks, 3/4 of settlers had died from malaria, starvation, or disease. Only a few dozen survived long enough to be rescued by passing ships. And when word got back to London that the whole dream was a lie, chaos ensued. Now, before we take a look at how the borders of MacGregor's fake empire began to sink before him, if you haven't already, please pound that subscribe button. It's completely free. It'll help prevent scammers from robbing you of your entire life savings. So please do yourself a favour, subscribe or be scammed. Upon returning to London, the survivors spread the word that Poyais was a lie and that MacGregor had conned everyone. However, when these survivors went to confront MacGregor, they couldn't find him. You see, MacGregor wasn't stupid. He was aware that the lie would come to light eventually. So, before the survivors returned to British soil, he fled to France to evade punishment. And in a new country with new victims, MacGregor would subsequently pull off the exact same scam again, this time telling French nationals of the beauty of Poyais. Now, at this point, you'll probably expect me to say that MacGregor was eventually caught and brought to justice by the French government. I mean, surely he couldn't have got away with the same scam twice, right? Wrong. MacGregor literally never faced any punishment or even acknowledgement of his actions by British or French authorities. In fact, the most severe punishment he ever faced was a short stint in prison after the French authorities put him on trial after a brief period of suspicion. However, he was acquitted almost as soon as the jail door was locked shut, leaving MacGregor to carry on scamming, earning and splurging for the best part of a decade. Shortly after he was released, around the 1830s, MacGregor decided to retire his scam and travelled back to Venezuela, where he had fought so long ago. Surprisingly, he was welcomed as a war hero. The locals knew nothing of the people he had scammed or the lives he had taken in the pursuit of money. Instead, seeing him as a patriot and a hero, they offered him a comfortable military pension. With this pension in hand, MacGregor enjoyed an ideal end to his life, never facing punishment or consequence for his previous actions. He died peacefully in Caracas in 1845, where he was buried with full military honours. Ultimately, Gregor MacGregor is a pretty perfect example of how a con artist should act. He conned people, he fled, and then he did it all over again to a new group of people. However, compared to the way that Peggy Ann Fulford stole every last penny of NBA and NFL stars' career earnings, MacGregor's crimes honestly don't look all that bad. Check out the video popping up on your screen now, and I'll show you what I'm talking about.